This is the Pivotal Running Podcast, and you're listening to Greg Derbyshire,
Chris Grunhagen,
and Marty Wimblom.
And we are three jackrabbits from two different countries who continue to follow running in the upper Midwest.
And we want to discuss important topics, inspiring stories, and extraordinary performances in running. Welcome, everybody, to the Pivotal Running Podcast. Today, we have the honor and privilege to interview Paul Danger. Paul is the pivotal leader who connected Greg, Chris, and I together at South Dakota State University over 20 years ago. The St. James, Minnesota native, he earned both All-American honors in cross country and track and field, and went on to win the Kansas City Marathon after graduation in 1994. He coached at the University of Kansas for several years, and in the fall of 1998, he took over the head SDSU men's and women's coach for cross country and track and field. Paul coached 6 years in Brookings and helped restore the running culture by winning 4 consecutive North Central Conference cross country team championships. We are super excited to have a talk with him today. Hey, Paul, what's going on?
Well, Marty, thank you so much. This is an honor for me to be here with you three outstanding people, guys that were important for me.
Yeah, you tied us all together. I mean, you really got us to not only buy into your program, certainly, but also we're well beyond the first 4 years of running at South Dakota State, and we're all continuing this. So my hat's off to you.
Onto our 22nd year of eligibility.
Yes, that's true.
Speak for yourself on those years, Darby. I don't.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, you're only on your 19th year of eligibility.
So how are things going for you?
They're wonderful. I'm talking to you via this conversation from Valparaiso, Indiana. Valpo is about 50 miles south and east of Chicago, Illinois. So we are in the midst of the cold that the U.S. is getting. We've got about 3 feet of snow on the ground, and our run of 14 miles this morning was in 0 degrees, but there was no wind, and it was beautiful along Lake Michigan, and couldn't have been any better. What a great way to start the day.
That's awesome. Hey, I gotta ask you, do you have any of those high-speed carbon fiber racing shoes in your arsenal still tell us about that.
Tell you what, a couple of years ago, around here in Indiana, the Masters people, I'm 50 years old now. So, but those shoes started to creep into Indiana up here, probably 3 years ago. And I didn't have any then. I'm just about ready to get a pair. But when I started seeing men that the year before were running 18-minute 5Ks, and then the next year later with those shoes on running low 17-minute 5Ks, I thought, there's more to their training than just what they're doing on the roads. The shoes are real deal, and it's changed a lot of things, a lot of records that we're talking about. Maybe we'll talk about today of friends of ours that maybe have lost or will lose a record because of the new technology, but it's the way that sport evolves. So more power to you.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, Paul, about the advancement in technology, because I have often in the last probably 6 months to a year on these shoes just gone, this is insane. How is this even legit? How is this fair? But I'm reminded today, I got a message today from a former athlete who came across a 1920 Brookings High School yearbook. And in that yearbook, it mentioned an individual named Basil Irwin, who transferred into Brookings in 1919 and was a 425 miler out of Minnesota, where he transferred in from. And I think, my goodness, this kid ran 425 in 1919. Think about the track that this kid ran it on, the shoes that were on his feet, the like lack of knowledge probably surrounding, his training compared to now. So, part of me says these shoes make it unfair, but part of me say, well, guys running in the 50s had a clear advantage over guys running in the 20s. So unfortunately,
it's pretty impressive. It's a pretty impressive time there. Very impressive. Because what was the world record in 1919 was 4:12. So it's only not that much off it then. Yeah. And there'd been no training.
Yeah.
There'd have been a couple of days a week that would have gone to the track and done some strides or something like that.
Probably about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because Scott Underwood, who was my head coach when I was at South Dakota State, he and I we talked on the phone last Tuesday night, and of course the shoe technology came up because we've been talking about that, especially for the coaches that are coaching right now, thinking of, okay, if you had a 10K runner on the track and you had a shoe that literally could give you 6 to 8 seconds per mile advantage, literally almost a minute maybe on a 10K track, if the need then as a current coach to not have your own athletes at a disadvantage, meaning if I would have taken you guys to a meet and thought, we're already giving away 50 seconds per runner, you guys got to make that up somehow. Well, that ain't gonna happen. I mean, so as a coach, we'd be
carboned up, wouldn't we?
Of course, you'd have to be if you want to compete, and so it'll be interesting to see these next few years too, as this. And I think too, as we're talking about these records that are going down, I think we're seeing a lot of these records worldwide too going down by not the big names. You look at the young man from England who just beat Seb Coe's indoor record,
the 800 guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't seen the big names lace them up yet, and so. In stateside in college track and field right now, we're seeing these performances. That D2 kid run 13:37 in the 5,000 meters just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
There were two. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna take this all the way back actually to your college days. How did you? Just give us a quick run through on your how you got into becoming a jackrabbit and one of the top guys on the team. Were you recruited by Undy or
Undy? Yeah.
What other schools were you looking at as well? Obviously. Yeah. Like how were you in high school as well in St. James? Were you a top guy at St. James High? Or
but my marks were I ran 9:45 in the 2 mile. I ran 4:35 in the 1600. So not impressive. But Coach Underwood started calling in the fall because he had a friend that coached in our area. And SDSU was actually top guy at that time. Paul Morgan was also from somewhat of my area. So Undy would look at the results and stuff. But Undy would faithfully call once every 2 weeks at least. And anybody who knows Scott Underwood knows you're not on a phone call for 15 minutes. You're on a phone call for maybe an hour. And I looked forward to with pure joy to that phone ringing, and we didn't have caller ID. I didn't know who's calling in, and there it would be. My mom would say the coach from South Dakota State is on the phone, and I'd sit and listen to him talk about South Dakota State. And one thing that always impressed me about him was he never talked about other teams. He only talked about his own team. He always talked about what the guys were doing, and he'd be interested and curious about what you're kind of doing too, but he was always optimistic about what his own team was doing. So that was very attractive. So I did come to South Dakota State, and by my junior year, the spring of my junior year, I got a scholarship I walked on at South Dakota State, and coach gave me $250 as a scholarship. And I thought that was the best thing in the world. I called my parents. I said, Mom, they're paying me. I got a scholarship. I don't know how much that, and that was just the greatest gift. But he was a really kind of hands-off coach, which I think allowed for some leadership within the team. Our upperclassmen were extremely good at that. And we had probably 7 or 8 guys on our cross country team. But by my freshman year, I'd qualified for the Minnesota State meet. It's interesting because I think early on I figured out with distance running, you get back what you put in. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out if 30 miles a week is better than 10 miles a week, or running in the summer is much better than not running in the summer. And it was always kind of obvious. And I would wonder why these other kids, I was like, this isn't very hard. You don't have to think about this very hard. If you would get out the door and start running, you can do some really good things. So I did. We didn't have a lot of things in our hometown or maybe a high school coach, but he would simply say, and it was very simple. It was probably Lydiard-esque training without anybody saying Lydiard, but a lot of it was volume based, with short speed in between, and things as simple as, hey, Paul, why don't you take your dad's watch out and time yourself on this 4-mile run? And you know what? The next day, try to run faster. Well, boy, that's rocket science. Try to run faster. So we would do that. I mean, it was a lot of volume and some short things, and kids stayed healthy, and and success would follow. But St. James, coincidentally, has produced a few. Dennis Barker is a name in Minnesota.
Oh, we know about Dennis Barker, don't we?
Distance running. Yep. He graduated from our high school, and even actually a better talent was a guy by the name of Paul Moslin, who ended up down at Iowa State and was one of their phenomenal distance runners. So
and during your years at St. James, how were you like the top guy in your last 2 years there, or are you sort of mid-range? What was the team like as well?
Our team was the fact that I was the top guy by my freshman year.
Big fish.
Big fish, little fun, yeah. Because we would get the guy, but it was okay. It was just the way it was. But no. Yeah.
Cool. And then so I mean the transition then into when you arrived in Brookings must have been, fairly big, I guess, was it? Freshman year, walking on, you got these sort of rock stars on the team there at the time.
It was. And coincidentally, I mean, I maybe have shared this story, but I remember sitting in the office of the Mankato State, Minnesota State, which it is now, his office in June of my senior year. Because like I said, I didn't receive a scholarship. I hadn't signed with anybody. I thought I was going to South Dakota State, but he said, Paul, why don't you come over here and let's talk a little bit? And as I was sitting in that office, he says to me, where are you thinking about going to school? And I said, well, I think I'm going to South Dakota State. And I remember him so vividly saying, why in the bleep would you ever want to go out there? And as soon as he said that, I made my decision 100%. And I never forgot that. I never, ever forgot what he said. And this goes back to when you guys now were running for me at South Dakota State years later. I mean, we're talking now, 5, 10, 15 years after he gave me that line in his in his office. And when you guys raced out in Fort Hays, Kansas, qualifying for the National Cross Country Meet in 2002, it was actually back to the conference meet right before that. I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but at the conference meet, of course, we won like we usually do. And he came up to me afterwards and he said to me, he said, Paul, we really had your guys scared today. And I kept thinking about it because like we would at that point of the season, a conference meet, we still had another 4 weeks to go, regions and then nationals. That's what we're always keen for. We're just getting through the conference meet. Don't back off. Run it is easy to get through. And I wanted to, but it made me so mad. It made me so mad, like thinking so I remember when we went to the conference or the region and the conference saying, and I wanted for you guys to stick it to them so bad. And I did. I saw him after the region meet when you guys, ran superb because we had Adams State, Western State. And you guys are battling those guys. And of course he, like a usual, tailed off, at the end. And I just wanted to say, you know what, this is where we are. This is what we think about. We were running easy 2 weeks ago and you were trying to hold on to some glory, but that wasn't what we were even thinking about. Our guys are thinking about bigger things. And then lo and behold, that team goes on and gets fourth at the National Cross Country Meet this year or that year. And again, guys that were blue collar, guys that really, stepped forward and showed great things. But so it goes to show, be careful and Andy used to talk about this too. Be careful what you say. How are your words coming out? Because it may be motivation for somebody else. And I never wanted to give anybody that extra ounce of motivation. But
absolutely, yeah. I think especially with a sport like running, that really does pay dividends, doesn't it? If you have that when you're really hurting, you need that little bit of extra.
Yeah, and I think in your team, I always would see the guys that I coached, you guys, and those around, the respect your group really gained and had respect from the other teams, and especially in our conference for sure. A lot of you guys knew other people from the nation, other teams that we'd compete at the national meets and stuff, but there's just a lot of respect. And I know the guys that ran, they were respectful to those that they competed against. And so there was a level that of respect that I don't know if you see that. I hope you do. I hope you still keep seeing that. But it was neat to see, as a coach, for me, looking at those other guys from other conference teams, looking in at our teams, and they couldn't say a bad word about it. You guys, because they were respectful in class.
So Paul, I got a question for you about, so how did you as a coach walk in the fall of 1998 then and start figuring out, okay, who do I go recruit over the course of these years to get that type of outcome that you just talked about?
Well, we didn't have a lot of resources on the team. We didn't have a lot of scholarship money. In fact, over the first couple of years, we actually lost quite a bit. The university at that time was going through a rough time, so budgets were being cut. So you had to be wise. but kind of some of the things that Andy talked about, some of those relationships that I had built up at the University of Kansas, helped out immensely with some of the high school coaches from the area, and knowing those coaches that knew other kids, where you could ask them, hey, who's some other good kids in the area. And again, maybe if we didn't have the resources to get some of the top at the time, I knew we could do well to develop, I think, some of those other ones, like a Chris Grunhagen, and a Kevin Doe, and I mean, countless others, of course, but those things, you know, and Brad Lowry, he was a difference maker for us, in a lot of ways.
Can you talk about Brad Lowry? I mean, because I remember the day that you came to practice, or I can't remember if, I mean, it was like literally, it was like, we got Lowry. I mean, can you tell us about not only that recruitment process, but I mean, he was really the blue chip South Dakota raised kid that came and stayed in state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and came to SDSU, which for us was big. And
what other schools was Brad looking at the time? I'm assuming, you know, everyone would have been wanting to recruit him, wouldn't they?
I'm sure. I don't know. I assume all the all the ones that we know. I don't know.
Because old Bob was a jackrabbit, wasn't he? Well, he went to SDSU, didn't he?
And his mom actually ran for Jay Dirksen.
Okay. Yeah.
At South Dakota State. But they certainly never made that an issue. And they always would have said, Brad, you're going to do what you feel best, for your own future. But he also, like the guys on our team, had a character about him that was just rock solid. A good man, a good guy, and a talent, obviously. I remember getting a call from him where he ran, it was like 9:21 out at some, like in Miller. It was like a 2-team or 3-team meet. And, of course he won it by 2 minutes. I don't know where second place was. I mean, it wasn't, but, again, all by himself, and just with the goal, I'm going to run 70s until I can't. And he developed phenomenally for me, and then even grander for Rodney. And, I think Rodney's smarts and his intellect, really helped propel Brad to that next level.
I'd like to. So I'm going to keep on taking us back to your college days as well, Danger. What was your proudest race that you ran when you were at SDSU? What was if you look back, over?
Oh, that's a good question.
30 years ago.
I think mine was my senior season at the Drake Relays 10K. And at that time, when you guys were running, for me, we had the luxury to do some traveling, to get out to a Stanford, or to get out to Mount Sac, to, as we would say, chase times, take in distance running, to get those marks that you need good weather, you need fast people to go with, that you're not going to get in the upper Midwest in April or May, when it could be 30 degrees out. But my most proud race, though, was that senior year at the Drake Relays in 92. Again, because there was a lot of pressure at that point. At that time, if you didn't hit your 10K mark at that meet, you're not going to get it at a conference meet or anyplace else. So, it was cold. It was somewhere in the low 50s, decent training weather, but we would look at the national list and kind of gauge what you needed to do. And I knew would have to run somewhere in the 30-40s at least to get into the national meet in the 10K. And so we kind of set that pace off and just would try to hold that, come through at 15:20 and try to do it again. But the thing I remember, Andy was very good at motivating on race day and cheering and getting you to do things that you maybe couldn't. He also, by his body language, though, if things weren't going well, you also knew it then too. He would, like most coaches, I would do it too. You stop cheering, you stop cheering and you do it. But I remember getting through 4 miles still on pace. And with each lap, consecutive lap thereafter, Andy would jump higher and higher and higher down on the backstretch where I was. And one of his classic lines would be, "You've got a good one going. You've got a good one going." And I remember him cheering that over and over and over and over with each lap that came in. So across the line, I think I ran 30:42 that day, which was good enough to get into the national meet. But I think even better than that, though, was they took 10 guys to the national meet in the 10K that year, my senior year. And SDSU had 3 of them. And
that's pretty impressive. Wow.
And
that's
very impressive.
That was also the same year that Adams State Perfect scored the national meet in cross country. And that was also, they beat Arkansas. I mean, they were beating everybody. And we had more guys on the track than they did. And I remember looking around then at my teammates and I'm thinking, okay, 8 guys make All-American. You two are going to, I'm not thinking about you two because you're going to make All-American with me. Who do we have to beat to, to make it? So it went well and we all made All-American that day. But yeah, Andy helped that race down at Drake, but that truly was one of my favorite races.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, and also a great race to run well at as well, because obviously that's a big alumni cheering race as well, isn't it?
It's a big thing. Well, and you guys know too, a lot of the times your good races don't come when you're feeling good. You wake up that morning and you don't feel that your best. Warm up doesn't go as good as it could be. The weather may not be as good as it is, but if you keep focused on something positive, something optimistic, something tangible you can look forward to, not looking backwards, things go well. And above and beyond, there's lasting memory in a good effort.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But I remember.
Also, yeah. Sorry, no, you are, mate. No. Yeah.
No, I mean, looking at you guys. I mean, I can think of each race or something unique with you guys. I was as I was thinking about this call, Greg. I remember your year when, in the steeple and the World Junior Championships, were over in China. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And trying to, and again, this comes back to relationships too. The New Zealand, I mean, you would attest to this. The New Zealand selectors were extremely rigid, and almost, easier to not take people than to take people. So not just a mark. I mean, I remember this when talking to Tony Rogers many times on the phone call and prep for that.
Yeah, Tony Rogers. Yeah.
Yeah. And not just fitness was a part of it, but there was, there was a lot of trust that I think he knew Burrow, he knew McCune, guys that obviously I had made a good connection and had a good name, had good understanding, and So when we could speak, on your behalf, it was almost like they're speaking on your behalf too, because of that connection too. And, I think that was really a testimony to how wonderfully attached we are to other people in our network.
Oh, no, definitely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And so with your, the 1993 NCAA cross country as well, that was a big event for you guys, wasn't it?
That was, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh,
Tell us
that's
a little
interesting.
about that day. That was a big day.
It's interesting bringing that up too, because that was out in California, in Southern California. Yeah, that was my senior year. And in November, third weekend in November, we would leave South Dakota and literally be snow on the ground, like you guys know, cold training. And then we go down to Southern California, and it's 70 degrees plus on race day. And again, that All-American award was always clear in your head to get. And
there was some very good guys in that race as well, weren't there? Didn't you have Charles Malinga running? He's one of the best runners in the world.
Yeah.
He just finished in the Barcelona Olympics, just outside the medals, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And he was an 800 meter guy, Joseph Tengele. There's a kid out of Abilene Christian who was, he was a medalist in the games. So those guys would pop up all over.
It was a good race.
Yeah, but it was so hot that day. I started off literally in like a Dave Waddle last place, and purposefully in thinking, okay, just gonna have to keep moving up and up and up. And again, slowly moving up and up and up. And I remember getting up somehow into the top 20 overall with what I thought was, maybe a mile and a half to go. And then Undy, but I was getting very warm, not delirious, but aware that something could be going to happen. So again, trying to run as hard as you can, but didn't want to collapse because of the heat. But at what should have been the five-ish mile mark, to 5.5 mile mark, I hear Undy yell at us. The leaders cut the course unintentionally. They took a wrong turn. So the course officials, because the leaders did it, just took the whole string of us behind them and rerouted to follow them. And by the grace of God, we cut off literally a half mile of that course. And I remember,
fantastic.
Oh yeah, because I remember coming.
But you still got the time.
Yeah. So you're coming in, and with literally like a couple of 100 meters to go, I start blacking out, and I can't see anything, but I can hear. And I would hear people going past me, and I started counting 20, 21, 22, 23, and all these numbers. And literally, my whole thought was, just done. I'm done. My one goal of college to get a cross country All-American is just gone. It's gone. We crossed the line. Jason Mossman, who was one of our outstanding guys who made All-American that day, he was in the medical tent with heat exhaustion. Travis Wetlaufer, had the same problems. And I remember Undy coming over to us afterwards. As we're there in the med tent and looking at the results, and I mean, literally by 1 or 2 places, I had made All-American. And if that course had been full distance, not even close.
Wow, that's impressive.
Thanks for those leaders. Yeah, I took the wrong, just jotted it off a little bit. Because we couldn't prepare for the heat like that. And you're not gonna do it. So
that is remarkable that the officials on the spot just, all right, everybody's following. Like, I mean,
well,
we're just getting changed.
I mean, that's just.
Well, right, you know how it is. It's probably some high school kid out there helping out. It's probably not some USATF official. It's probably some parent that has never been to a cross country meet. I don't know, and they just say, oh, they went that way. You go that way.
You go that way.
Not the nationals. Yeah.
Who knows? But, I just think, yes. And we just laugh about that because, boy, that short course saved us.
And what was the overall result for the team that day? Was it, 3 of you guys in the top 40?
Yeah, but we dropped off. We dropped off. I'm sure it was a top 10, but I'm not sure where it was. But
yeah, what were during your college years? I mean, especially let's look at your last 2 years. Who were the other top teams from nationally from around our area? Was USD doing well? Was
not yet.
Mankato, NDSU. Who are the? Or was it more like your Central Missouri State and those guys? They were
ironically, Augustana had one of the better teams.
That's interesting.
They wouldn't get a lot of guys, but the ones they had, they were local guys, and they were actually good. Mankato was the next one that would show glimpses. North Dakota State always had the talent, but never seemed to have. They'd always have an individual that could do well, but never had the balance to seem underneath. And USD is kind of a similar format, but
South Dakota State kind of was leading the charge for the teams in the upper Midwest.
Anyway. Yeah, and if you look back, in history, I mean, with South Dakota State having something like 32 conference cross country championship titles, the next closest, I don't know, 12, I don't know, 10, I mean, so it's not even close, but.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So you, another interesting fact, I remember going on runs and you talking to me about this, you used to sort of do quite a bit of marathon training while you were still at South Dakota State as well, weren't you? Did you run a few marathons while you were there too?
I don't think I did.
Or was it almost probably straight afterwards? Yeah. I mean,
I think, when we came back, out here, there was, Andy had a good quote about running as a coach. And he would say, the better your running is as a coach, the worse your team will be. And, and it was kind of, there was a lot of wisdom in that, well, as you guys know, as a distance runner and to be a committed distance runner, there has to be some type of focus and what's the right word for it? Self-focus, I guess maybe it is, self-attention. And I think Andy's words were kind of right, is if as a coach, you want to be able to give everything away. And if anything causes you to, focus too much in, you're going to shortchange something. And I think that was good wisdom. So, is running with the guys is different than, actively trying to race. That would be a tough thing, but But we were blessed too. I think at South Dakota State, we were really blessed too, is we had a men's and a women's team that actually, I mean, we trained together, a lot of same workouts. So I think I always viewed it as more time-based, where a 17-minute person didn't matter what gender they were 17-minute, and we were going to group our people together. And I think that helped out. I think it helped out everybody.
Paul, as I'm certain you have got so many memories about what it was like coaching, is there any one or just a few moments that you'd like to kind of share with us that's sort of stand out, or maybe, pretty significant over those years that you were coached?
I think, yeah, I mean, obviously the great results bring back memories. Burroughs, when Burrow won the indoor national title mile that year in 99.
Your first year as a coach as head coach too. It must have been pretty nuts.
That was good. Of course, I mean, when we were out at Stanford that one beautiful night when Greg ran the 10K.
Oh, the 10K, that's right. Yeah, that was a good night. Yeah,
and
the lights were gone faster. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I guess coming in that first year with all the challenges that you would have had to come into. I mean, that indoor mile of Burroughs must have been nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, and people, I mean, that was a crazy week, not a crazy weekend, but that Nick was a year and a half into his diabetes or so, I mean, relatively new. And I remember him in the prelim the night before, blood sugar was, I don't think, as I remember, it'd be interesting to hear Nick if this was how he was thinking, but the blood sugar was not going so well. So the prelims were the night before, and then we had to turn around a race. It was either late morning or early afternoon, so it was a pretty quick turnaround for the final the next day. So an evening race
combined, weren't they, back then? Indoors was Division 1 and Division 2. Yeah.
So you had So with his food intake, you got this late race. It's it messes up your eating schedule for then. And in the morning too, you're trying to figure out. But I remember he wasn't. As I remember, he wasn't in a very good shape. So which I think again is testimony to his effort to get that not only a championship but an NCAA record at that time for him. So I think some of those efforts, but I think as I look back now, what's neat is some of the backstory, some of the things you knew your kids were going through or struggling with, and then to see how they overcame those obstacles and had a wonderful race. Those really seem to be much more lasting memories for me right now, that I'm really grateful for. And you could point out any kid, and it might be the top kid. It might be that kid that just had a huge PR. I'm grateful at South Dakota State. We didn't have the roster limits that I know is happening in a lot of programs in cross country or distance running. We didn't have a roster limit where we could only have so many guys. So my philosophy always was, if anybody's got a desire and a good work ethic, they're welcome. And one of the kids, I look at like a Tommy Weirheim, young man who's now thriving and doing so well with a great young family in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, doing it with a law practice. And
Weirheim Law. Put a shout out there to Weirheim
exactly,
Law.
Weirheim Law in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. An outstanding man of character, but working. And he would say, and I think he wasn't our best guy, but he would PR, and when he would set a PR, our front people would be as excited. And I really think that's a testimony to the guys on our team that saw people's individual efforts wherever they were in their spectrum of talent. That was really good part of our team for that.
I appreciate that, Paul. I gotta also ask is that you've run against a lot and trained with a lot of tough teammates, both men and women. Can you tell us who's maybe a couple of the toughest teammates or toughest people that you've ran with over the years?
When I was teammates at South Dakota State, I was always we used to have this term called Tuesday All-American, and that would be a term we would use for guys that we knew, not on our teams per se, but guys that maybe we knew on other teams too, that had this ability to run so well on a Tuesday. And then by the time race day they would show up, it's like, what happened? So, I mean, a lot of guys that we would maybe think about from other teams. And I was always impressed with the guys at South Dakota State that would train at a level which allowed them mentally and physically to overperform at the race. And I think that's probably a struggle for a lot of distance runners in college, especially it can be hard when in a very elite training group, where if it's not controlled well, there can be over training or over racing in practice, which then leads to tired fatigue. But by the race time, by a Saturday race, then your best efforts were 3 days ago. But I think there was always a good respect within the guys to know, and probably an accountability that would let the young guys know, hey, it's Monday or it's a Wednesday workout. We're racing at the University of Minnesota on Saturday. Keep it at bay, because the meet's the most important thing. So I think I was really surrounded by a lot of people that had good wisdom, towards that type of training philosophy. And I think that's why South Dakota State has really done well, not just during the season at the meets, but specifically at the end of the season, where we wanted to do well. We would see a lot of teams do well early in the season and then just kind of tail off as the season goes. But there's a mindset and there's a focus with your training and importance of the end of the season that would make sure you did what you needed to do in training, but never left a race back in Brookings. That's not going to do us any good.
No, yeah, absolutely, yeah. But I mean, I did used to really admire the guys that would really know how to pace themselves during the week as well. And because I probably didn't necessarily do that well, that sort of stuff.
Well, it's a learning thing that you and hopefully, I mean, everybody goes through it, and hopefully the earlier you learn it, the better. But some guys were really good. There was a kid at when I coached at the University of Kansas who transferred in from Georgetown. And he made All-American in cross country for us at the University of Kansas. But I was asking him one day about the Georgetown system when he was there. So this would have been early 90s, I suppose it was. And he said, with their training environment, they would only meet on workout days. And the structure was, obviously that would be a hard effort. But the coach would find that if the guys were doing their off running together, they end up going too fast. So the plan was, on the off days, you ran by yourself. So you would make sure you went slow enough, and maybe you weren't compelled to, go too fast for where you should be or not. And it worked for them. I think we with South Dakota State would say some of those off days, distance runs, develop the camaraderie and, the bonding that was maybe as or more useful for team support. But that again, and Nick Burrow, I thought he was phenomenal. You guys remember? I mean, he would go out and he may run slow. I mean, he had a good way of knowing it may be a 7:30 pace day. It may be maybe faster. I don't know, but just knowing that, and yeah, all of you guys were that way too. You just realize, hey, so
yeah, yeah. I mean, we won't. So I don't want to sort of focus on it too much, but your role at Kansas was pretty instrumental anyway, wasn't it, in your going on and coaching at South Dakota State? Just run us quickly through how you ended up sort of in Kansas.
Oh, I sure do. That's a great question, Greg. So my wife, Sarah, when we graduated from South Dakota State, she was just finishing up her master's and was going to get her PhD. And she applied to a variety of universities. And she asked me where I would, of the 4 or 5 that she had picked, Kansas was one of them. And she asked me what, of these, where would you like to go? And I said Kansas, because I'd grown up knowing the Jim Ryan story and the Billy Mills story, the Al Order story, and of Kansas's storied tradition. Well, she ended up picking it, and so I sent a letter down to the head coach at that time, who was his name was Gary Schwartz, and I didn't hear back from him. I was just seeking no more than just a volunteer, maybe just to come in and help out. Sarah was in grad school, so and we didn't have kids, so it was it was a great time to stay involved in distance running. So I sent him this letter, and I didn't hear back all summer. And we get down there in August, and I walk into the University of Kansas track and field office. And if you guys ever want to see history, head to the University of Kansas and go to their track office to see the Olympic medals and the national titles from the 50s and 60s and 70s, which is phenomenal. But anyway, so I sent him a letter and I didn't hear back. So I walked into his office, and his office is stacked, and his desk is just stacked with paper. And I said, "Hi, Coach. I'm Paul Danger. I'm from South Dakota State. I sent you a letter this summer." And he's looked at me and said, "It's probably around here somewhere." And
make you feel
yeah, well,
somewhere in, I don't know.
Again, but a connection back to South. In my letter, I talked about Scott Underwood, my head coach, and I mentioned Jay Dirksen, who coached at South Dakota State, but was at that point the University of Nebraska head coach, or cross country coach. And again, great men, class acts, and he said South Dakota State. He said, he grew up in Wessington Springs, South Dakota, ironically. and
Amazing.
he actually held the national record in the discus when he was in high school. And he looked at me and he said, I wanted to go to South Dakota State University. I wanted to play football and do track. And he said that the football coach at that time wouldn't let me do both. So I came to the University of Kansas instead. Well, Schwartz went on to win the Big 8, or at that time, the Big 6 conference title. And his Coach Schwartz went on, he's led many actually world teams and stuff in track and field. But again, that connection back to South Dakota was an entry for me to get into Kansas, which allowed me to get back to South Dakota State. And while we were there, Jim Ryan's two sons, Ned and Drew, ran on the team. We were fortunate enough to do a home visit with Jim and his two sons. And that was a remarkable, great people, just fabulous. So, and
amazing. You worked with a few other good guys as well, didn't you? Charlie Gruber was a top guy, wasn't he?
Gruber, yeah. He was out of Mullen High School. We recruited him in, and he had good marks. I think a lot of times I don't think college coaches give those marks at altitude the credit they do deserve. Because I can't remember what his high school mark was, but it wasn't anything that would set off these great ideas. But again, he was just a great person, hard worker, and had a little bit of talent and a lot of hard work, and that did well for him. And then he made the Olympic Games in the 1500 meter.
He was he made the most of his definitely made the most of his talent, didn't he?
Yeah. Again, take advantage of those, right place at the right time, and at that time too, I think there were many guys that had faster marks than him, but he was a smart racer. He could see an opportunity in a race and really know how to maximize it. So, and some of those races, it's not always the fastest guy that's going to win. Their tactics in multiple rounds. So strength was important. He had a lot of strength always. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Charlie Gruber is the runner-up to Alan Webb in the Olympic trials, right? After Alan Webb kind of pulled away from the field there, Charlie Gruber was smart enough to understand what was happening and make the Olympic team. I always remember that because of the sort of display, not only that Alan Webb did coming across the finish line, but certainly how he kind of dominated that race.
Yep.
Greg, you might have to go back and watch that on YouTube, man. It was a pretty good one.
What year was that, Marty?
Must have been 2004, wasn't it?
2004.
When he was in the games, yep.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's amazing. I thought he had actually, I had no idea Charlie Gruber was still going that long. And
correct.
I thought, wow, that's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. That he kept going. I mean, that was 2 years after he graduated. I mean, it was or a year after. I mean, it was a little bit.
Yeah, that's a brilliant achievement, by a guy from Kansas. Yeah. Who was your who were some of your coaching idols that you look to? I'm gonna guess Undy's gonna be one, but who are some of the other guys that you sort of could be anywhere in the world, global or even local coaches that you wanted to base your the training that you set out around?
Yeah, Joe Vigil was one we always would lean towards. Similar philosophy.
Man of the moment, wasn't he? I mean,
he was the man. He was, and in a variety of distances too. You know, his prowess from the 800 on up to 10K, and obviously then at the marathon was well documented. But I also like too, in any publication that he put out, any book, he was very open, and he was also very open too when you talk to him. He would honestly tell you things that, and so I always appreciated that. So
did you meet him quite a few times, or? Oh, that's
no. And I remember, especially when Rodney ran the Olympic trials marathon out in Pittsburgh that year, of when we were out, Undy and I were out on the course of that race, and Adam State and Vigil were Adam State had a couple of guys, and the best guy probably in the race was an Adam State kid, and it was about at the 18 or 19 mile mark, and Undy and I are on the street corner where Rodney would have to take a hard right turn, and Undy, of course, is in the middle of the street going crazy. And I look over and I said, "Right, Undy, that's Joe Vigil." In my mind too, I'm saying, "Yeah, your guy's beating Joe Vigil's guy. Look at that." I'm thinking, and because they, I held great admiration for Vigil, and so there was great pride in Rodney's effort that day that he upended our Adam State foes. But
was Peter De La Sura an Adam State guy?
Yeah, that's him. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
As we're talking of that, does anybody have? I know Rodney has that video
of the whole video.
Yeah,
you used to have it. I remember in your office, but I think Rich Skorczewski took off of it.
Oh man,
I've
love
scoured
my
the web
hands
for that
on
highlight.
that video.
It's nowhere, I've looked for it as well, and it's you can't see it. It's crazy.
You think about you're talking about broadcasting stuff. I remember it was actually my first year at South Dakota State in '98, but the year before, when I was at University of Kansas, we bid on hosting the national cross country meet, and KU got the meet, and it was also a dual, South Dakota or Division II was afterwards, and Division I was in the morning, Division II. So, but the that year, Stanford paid for the filming to have it filmed, televised, because obviously there's the resources aren't going to be there, but obviously they had a good team. They had motivation to have it publicized, and but things are getting
it's
better.
amazing, isn't it? Amazing now when you think about all these meets are now just have got live streams of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy now.
Mm-hmm.
Look, even the one today, South Dakota was is live streamed. Everything is now. So
no, it's wonderful. The technology is cheap, and a guy with a handy cam can.
Yeah,
exactly,
that's really amazing. Hey, Darby, I think you should probably get into some race narration. I think you'd be an excellent commentary, and actually, I think that's probably a big gap that we've seen.
Yes.
Or maybe even an atrophy. I know it's in the United States. You can't find anybody who's going to be able to do any commentary for an actual race. It's almost like, every time they come around the track, it's maybe a few words, if any, that anybody's talking during the race, and maybe that would be of benefit for a sport that certainly doesn't have the resources.
A good career change
that others.
Yeah,
wow.
I think you too would be. I think maybe we could make this the pivotal running commentary team. Actually, we can outsource ourselves to commentate on races.
The Phil Liggett of pivotal running.
Liggett.
Yeah,
wow.
that's gonna be awesome. I was thinking about maybe actually, it'd be kind of cool as if even if you took old races that nobody was had any commentary on, right, and then you'd have your commentary, right, produced over top of an old race, such as Chris, you were there in person. You saw conferences a couple years ago for the Summit League Men's Mile. I mean, you were in the building, but that commentary might be a good one to maybe cut our teeth on.
That race was absolutely insane. And then 2 years later, when they did it in the 800 and actually went 1 through 4, I mean, I've been in the S-Jack a lot. I said that at the top of the hour, and I've never seen that place erupt so much as in those two performances. That'd be exciting to have some in-depth commentating on that. Those are fun races to watch. And I think both of them are on YouTube.
Yeah, that's might be on the horizon to get some commentary going on both those historic films now on YouTube. Paul, you said the 1998 NCAA cross country championship was held in Kansas. Did you know that Pivotal Running actually put that on YouTube?
I do now.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go watch it, and you might be the 35,000th person to actually watch it. It's got some pretty good views. It's pretty cool.
You'll be getting income off it soon.
That's
right.
No, you got to get a lot of hours, I think, on this stuff. So,
where'd you find that race? That's pretty impressive.
I was at home back in Bellevue, Washington, when they have to replay it like in December, right? So I was on Christmas leave, so I took out like any good running fan, right? Take out a VHS, blank tape. Oh, it's on. You catch it impromptu and you stick it in there, and maybe you get the start, right? And luckily enough, I got both the men's race and the women's race. A horrible copy. But actually, it's funny because nobody else did it, right? Yeah. So just by chance, I held on to my VHS copy. And running with the Buffaloes, you would have to just read it. Otherwise, if you didn't watch it on YouTube now. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's funny you say that, Marty, because Paul and Darby, I have the CBS recap of the 2003 NCAA Division II championships down in Raleigh. So Paul, that would have been your last
CBS. Wow.
I'm pretty sure it's CBS that covered that, and they did like you said, Marty. A month later, they do the recap of all 3 divisions, and I stumbled across that a year or two back on some random VHS tape as I was pounding away on a treadmill.
It's impressive. Man. You need to upload that then as well.
Maybe I need to get that to Marty. Pivotal Running.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Shoot, I'd pay you for that, Chris. I'd seriously. We get some generated income. I just put it on digital format, and we'll put it on YouTube, man. This is some classic videos that I'd be willing to get my hands on. Seriously.
How close? Yeah. Sorry, I was just having a thought about this since we're talking about Olympic trials, marathons, and so forth. So Paul, you would have been aiming for the 96 Olympic trials marathon. Is that what your sort of goal was? You can't have been too far away from making that back, because what would the standard have been back in 224? I'm guessing
it was like 222.
Was it 222? Okay, so it was 222 for a while then, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that kind of was the back plan when we went to Kansas, because when I volunteered for the first 2 years before I got a paid job, which was great because they had, especially that first year when I was there, when I could run with the team and train, and then they had two guys that were all Americans that stayed around the next year to keep training. So I trained with them as well. So that was kind of that 94, 95 effort. And then again, once I got coaching full time, then that really had to take a back burner.
So yeah,
but it was,
where was your best time done then? 2:26, is that right?
just a little titch slower, like 28 something. That was at
it's sub.
Dallas.
We'll call it 20 is pretty. The sub 230
yeah,
is still good.
But that saga though goes back to the winning the Kansas City Marathon, because like I said, they paid. That was supposed to be a long training run, a 20-miler to prepare for Dallas in a few weeks. And so in that Kansas City race, at 20 miles, I was in third place, and third place paid like $500. And I thought, all right, that's rent for this month. We could sure use that. Just finish. Well, then I catch up to second place, and that was like $750 or so. And boy, all right, that's better.
2 months rent.
That's 2 months. And then towards basically like 24, I see the leader up ahead of me, and that's $1,000. And boy, if I just pick it up a little bit, I can catch him. And I did. And again, I mean, you're out of college, you don't.
No support there.
No, so $1,000 goes a lot. That's 2 months rent. I mean, that's good. That's big. And but in hindsight, obviously that put the damper on recovery for a few weeks later. But
so your goal actually for that race was to do it as sort of almost like a tempo style effort, and then oh well.
You still got the victory and $1,000. That's pretty impressive. I mean, that's
I mean, obviously, in hindsight, I mean, it was just short-sighted, but I don't know.
Fully understandable, though. I don't think many people would be to have the ability to hold back, in that sort of situation as well. So.
I was fun. My wife was on a bike at the time, and she was kind of hip hopping through Kansas City and following us around. And I said, "Actually, Sarah, I've still got 3 miles to go." Oh, okay. But that was running a pair of Zoom Mariahs, Darby.
Yes.
It all comes back.
It does. A great shoe, the Mariah.
Of course, a pair of Alpha Flies and next percenters, and who knows what would happen.
You're a 204 guy.
Bingo. Yeah.
And it's interesting, yeah. A lot of these guys running, these really quick times now, what would they have been 30 years ago? What do you notice has changed about the collegiate running scene now from, say, even when you were coaching, though? I mean, so
a lot of it's still the
you
same.
see so many kids now. The standards seems, the standards seem very, very deep now, though. I think we were talking about this last time that the three of us were on here about to make nationals now is so hard.
Yeah, and it is, and there is. I mean, obviously, we've touched on the technology at some point, but I think each time, and there's a stat. It reminds me of a stat about the I don't know if it was the sub 4 mile or somewhere there afterwards. After that, or any first mark is obtained, the gates come off, and people just start doing, after the first sub 4 mile, within, I don't know how many, 18 months, I don't know how many, just so many more kept happening. And I think, maybe that's some of it, which is happening now too. Hey, if that guy can run that, I can too.
Yeah, there definitely seems it. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
in the immediacy, I mean, even the change now, where we're talking about things that just literally happened minutes ago. Back when you guys were in school, we were talking about things that we would find out maybe a week or two. I mean, delayed. But
especially in your era,
yeah,
like it would have literally been coming out and
we'd get
track and field news.
Undy would get a fax, and you'd see the week, what marks just happened. Well, but also at that time you had like 2 weeks to turn in your marks. So some people would hold those marks back because they knew they didn't want somebody else knowing what they did. So
Josh would have made it exciting, wouldn't it, to look at the lists?
No, and I could see why. Hey, if I had one of you guys just run a fast mark, well, I don't want somebody to know that that's what they did, because then they know they got to beat it. So if I don't have to turn that mark in for 2 weeks, I'm going to hold that thing on as long as I can, and then put it up there. And then they're like, oh, boy, had I known that a week ago, I could have made, went after it. Well, but now, I mean, instantaneously, we know not just what's happening down the street, but literally in Auckland, New Zealand, what a guy just ran.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it is, isn't it? We can talk about it literally as soon as it's happened. So yeah.
So and no.
I think also, the advent of things like YouTube have been really enormous and creating knowledge, I guess, of for people as well. People are picking up different tips and tricks and stuff. And yeah. I can't believe how fit you're looking though, mate. You must be are you pumping the miles out, or are you
not consistent. Consistency is like out the door, but
when you're in your 50s, it's pretty hard. How's the body going these days as well?
Healthy.
Is that nice? It's good. It's got to keep those knees, keep the knee joints and check. That's the key on it.
That carbon fiber training shoe has been wonderful.
What do you? Which one do you train in, man?
The Zoom 3, or else the Hoka. The Hoka, one of the Hokas.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean that's right, because they got the stiff sole, don't they? So they take that pressure off your calves.
And I did dip my toe in the water this morning with a new pair of the Magic shoe.
The Alpha Flies.
Well, not the what's the next percent?
Next percent. Okay. Yeah, they're not the Alpha Flies. The Alpha Flies are the current one. I heard there's a new shoe coming out, the Invincible. What's that about? It's like a training shoe from Nike, but it's like got all the benefits of the Alpha Fly. Has anybody else heard about that?
One of my friends did order one. I think it was the Invincible, but it doesn't look like those ones. It looks it's all very foamy sort of one, like the what are they called? What the ones that are sort of almost for jogging in it. I think they were the Invincibles. I have to have a look. Okay. Actually.
Yeah. No, that's.
We've got a kid over here that works at the Nike outlet down the road, and they get 40% off anything.
Oh, fantastic.
So you can just give him his size and he orders them.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. So that's why you're getting. That's how you get.
What size are you? I'll send you some.
Yes.
Don't tempt us. Yeah. We're trying to get Chris to get himself a pair of carbon races. Last time we were talking, it's the key to being old. You got to have them.
Geez, the way that these kids are ripping off times these days. Heck, I could probably run under 410 right now on a pair of those.
Yep. Do you have a
Why
pair,
not?
Greg?
I've got 3 pairs of carbon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't have
That's
any.
awesome.
I don't have any. I don't have any like dragonflies.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
But I've got the next percents and the 4%, and I got the meta races as well.
Do you like
A6
those?
meta races? They're not as good as the
Yeah,
Nike
yeah,
ones.
yeah.
They're more of just a traditional flat. They're like the Mariah.
Ooh, I love the Mariah.
You did.
I'll
You
go
know who
get a
always
pair
talks
for
to me
you.
about, you know who always talks to me about the Mariahs?
Burrow.
Jacko.
Jacko.
Always.
oh wow.
Every time I talk to the guy,
Still got Marty's hat.
he
Yeah,
mentions
he's
all
still
of
in there.
you
He gave that
all the
back, did he?
time. Yeah, he mentions them all the time. He mentions you guys every time I talk to him, which is
Somebody was
joy.
saying that those dragonfly spikes though are only good for a few races.
Is it because
Now I just-
the sole falls off them, like the heel falls
Literally,
off?
basically.
Wow,
just-
that's crazy.
So it'd be
That's
curious
a-
to see. Did that Jaeger kid? Did he race in them in the 3K?
You know, I don't remember. I think he
It
was
didn't
in.
look like it.
It didn't.
No,
No, it didn't look
Oh, I
like
don't
on
know.
the video. I saw it as a video from afar, right? So all I can tell is the small pixelated live stream. But hey, at least it's live streamed. I was excited about
Yeah.
that. First time in
Mhm.
South Dakota history under 8 minutes in the 3K. Is that right?
Yeah.
That
That's
must definitely be right, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
think.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's a pity. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, he ran 403 today
No.
No.
and got beat.
Where was that at?
Got beat.
Yeah,
What?
kid from Drake broke 4, ran 359.
No. Oh.
That's great results, Chris. Thank you.
Wow.
They were out.
Where was this at, mate?
At the S-Jack here in Brookings.
Oh,
So technically, that sub 4 was. I mean, there's some technicalities, but it's the first, I think, official sub 4 mile because what's his name?
Drew Hunter.
Drew
Yeah.
Hunter ran
Hunter.
under 4 out in Spearfish. You know, with a few of his
time by himself, probably.
Yeah,
I sort of.
I
Yeah,
thought
that video was very suspect on his.
He ran-
It
efforts.
was, wasn't it?
he ran what, like 356 out there or something pretty insane. But
So yes, it's 3:59. That's there will be, wouldn't it? That'll be the first
Mm.
sub 4 minute mile, official sub 4 minute mile in a proper
Wow.
race. Yeah.
Wow. Hey, we're the only ones probably to cover it too, right? I mean, we're the ones talking about it, I guess. So
that's right.
That's right.
hey.
Exclusive.
Awesome.
Breaking news.
Yeah. Chris, did you actually see the race?
I did not. This was the second meet at the S-Jack I have not been able to attend. Lauren was out of town, so I was home with the boys, but I had it live streaming as well. So I did catch it during nap time, so I was pretty locked into what was going on, but pretty impressive. They were out pretty fast, 57 mid through the quarter and 156, I think, at 800. So they were
I'm going for it.
they put some money in the bank, but I had a few
Wow,
pacers
that's
in
great.
there. Daniel Burkhalter took him through. He was out, I want to say 42 at 300. Rough gas. He was moving. But yeah, a couple of them took him through 800 and then stepped off. So yeah, good race.
Oh, very good. And
That's
so
very
again,
good. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just gonna have a look at the results here.
I'll
myself.
bring this up.
Yeah. Bring this
Trent
up.
Frankham went over 18 feet in the vault.
Oh, we did.
Yep. Puts him, I think, at number 7 in the country. Yeah.
No, that's pretty impressive. Wow. Yeah. So this was the SDSU last chance, mate, right?
Last chance, yeah.
Ah, very nice.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Jeez. Yeah. Certainly how does the SJAC compare to the, say, Iowa State? Because you know that it was used to be the best and fastest track around our area, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
Well, I'm probably a little bit biased, but I would prefer the SJAC based on the environment. You know, the Iowa State's facility is so. It's 300, but it just seems so crowded and there's not a lot of space. You know.
Yeah, I think our turns seem more forgiving.
Yes.
Like they have a longer straights but shorter curves.
It seems a bit like that with their I noticed when you look at races at their University of Washington track as well, that's like really cramped, eh? Like everyone's sort of squashed up against the walls, but
yeah, there's no
because of where they are.
There's no like stands or anything out at the Dempsey, is there? I mean, it's pretty tight.
It's very squashed, yeah. So one day, we might be able to get some really big meets here, but these results are pretty awesome, eh?
Did you see that UW kid raced at New Zealand?
Santana. Oh yeah, he's big news around here. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that was a pretty good effort, wasn't it? But he's been he was like time trialing. What did he do? Like on New Year's Day, he did a 1500 meter time trial with just a couple other guys. That he did 3:36 that day, and he's very, very impressive. Yeah, he's just like a little nugget. Oh,
is he where you are?
Lungs on legs.
Yeah, there's been a lot of records. I mean, you were talking about the New Zealand runner that had a good showing for UW, but I was going to say there's a bunch of Aussies too, like are just taking records left and right. I mean, didn't somebody run 3:32 for Ollie Hoare? Yeah.
Ex Wisconsin guy, so he's pretty impressive, eh? The thing I noticed now is all these guys are on like post they're all pros now, eh? They're all, I guess there's so many more different brands around, eh? And there's all these different training groups around as well, isn't there? Which
was it Charlie Hunter too, right? He's an Aussie, right?
He's English, I think.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Don't tell him I said that. I mean, we get him. Yeah, he'd be pretty upset about that.
Marty, are you thinking? Is it George Beamish?
Oh, he's New Zealander, right?
Yeah.
New Zealander. Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Morgan McDonald's Australian,
Mm-hmm.
and he's doing pretty good, isn't he? He's cracking out some good results. Yeah, but these local guys are doing bloody well, though, aren't they? Yeah. Are there many other sort of guys from around South Dakota or different other universities who are cracking out good results? It seems like SDSU definitely seems to have the cream of them, if I'm being so biased to say.
There isn't much.
I haven't seen much, but I honestly haven't. I rarely sit down and scour the local meets as much anymore, but the Gophers don't seem to have a whole lot. The Bison have one guy that I think is around 408 to 410, and they've got a slew of guys in that low 150s in the 800. Now, Iowa State's reportedly, from my intel,
from the inside.
Yeah.
6 guys that may go under 147.
What? That's ridiculous.
Isn't that insane?
All Kenyan?
Yeah.
That's what Ames does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Hey, Paul. Let me tell you this. Thanks so much for
thank you guys
talking with us today, and it's so cool that we get a chance to kind of hear more to the story.
Beautiful. I was looking forward to this ever since I got the message from you. This has been
the gold invite. Yeah.
This is a real gift. Yep.
Hey,
let's do it. Thank you.
It's been great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Awesome to talk to you again.
Well done.
Thank you,
all
three of you.
We'll see you
Till the
down.
next time, then. All right.
Mhm.
Next time.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Be well.
Yeah, we'll chat soon, guys.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Pivotal Running Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, pivotalrunning.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Spotify, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you simply would tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. Thanks.